From Reason Alliance Media, this is Season 1, Episode 11, Frida B, You and Me. On today's episode, we have a polyamory talk with Bella Constrictor, Miss Anthrope, and special guest Jeannie Eichert from Polyaskery podcast. We've got a Frida Kahlo herstory segment. Then we have an interview and Feminarrative segments with Marissa Alexa McCool of the Inciting Incident podcast. And introducing the Magical World of Mensesland. Stay tuned. On today's Feminarrative, I have Marissa Alexa McCool from the Inciting Incident and several other podcasts to talk about ReasonCon.
Thank you so much again for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to work with you, and we definitely need more of your voice. And so keep being loud, keep being you, and keep doing this show.
Aw, thanks. You too, for that matter.
Thank you.
So tell us about your experience at ReasonCon.
Okay. Well, for context, I am an out trans woman. I've been transitioning for about 9 months or so, and it's been extremely difficult living in a conservative area, I guess would be a good way to put it. Even when I'm not, quote unquote, presenting, I still get a lot of odd looks and comments, sometimes just for something as silly as wearing purple. And going to ReasonCon was nerve-wracking, not because of the people I was going to see when I got there, but because of where it was. And the first thing I did when we crossed the border into North Carolina was to stop at a gas station, use the women's bathroom, and take a picture of me flipping off the camera, because fuck HB2.
Yes.
So I got to ReasonCon, and I think it would be unfair to say that I was meeting a lot of new people, as I already knew, quote unquote, a lot of those who were going to be there. I stated on my interview, Lucinda Illusions has become my bestie. I knew Eli and Anna and the Scathing crew and the Cogdis crew. I date Jeannie Eichert from the Polyaskery podcast, who was on this show before. So I was already familiar with some of these names and faces, but what it was going to be the first experience for me, really, was going into a situation knowing that there were people looking forward to meeting me, taking pictures with me. And that was something that I've never really dealt with before, or at least was never aware of. When I went to the live GAM showing back in January in Chicago, it just happened to be the same week that I was on GAM. And when I approach a group social situation, I'm very quiet and shy at first until I kind of get brought into the conversation. And I wasn't expecting anybody to know who I was outside of Lucinda, because we had already been talking so much by that point. But I swear 50 to 100 people probably came up to me and said, "Oh my God, you're Marissa. I loved your appearance on GAM." And I'm like, you know who I am? What? So it's still a matter of getting used to people knowing who I am outside of school or my general social circles. So I got to ReasonCon, met up with the people I was already planning to meet up with, hugs, everything like that. Went to get Ari and Jeremiah at the airport, and we were in Charlotte. And just randomly, a girl driving in a car stops by me and says, "Oh my God, I love your hair." And it's just like, wow, that was so unexpected, especially in North Carolina. And it was kind of the first affirmation I had that gave me a boost of confidence before going back to ReasonCon. And I had my own table. I was releasing my new book, False Start, at ReasonCon. And I'm like, oh, nobody's going to buy this. Nobody cares that I'm here. I mean, Lawrence Krauss, Matt Dillahunty, these people, they know who these people are. And nobody's going to care. They're just going to be like, oh, there's some purple girl sitting over there. Who cares? I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, the first person I saw when I got to the hotel was Andrew Torres, my lawyer, who likes to do what I call compliment snipering, which is he knows my tendency to do self-deprecating humor, and he'll say something and then disappear so I can't argue with him. So, he'll be like, "Oh, Riss, you're going to be a celebrity at this thing. You might as well accept it. Whoops, gotta go." I'm like, "Damn it, Andrew." So I set up my booth. And before I could get my Square plugged into my phone, I had sold a book. Wow. And, I had both of my books up there. I had some promo photos. promotion for our live show in July with Chris Cluey's scathing opening arguments and Gay Theist Manifesto. It's coming up July 14th for the Inciting Incident 100th episode. And, just being there, people were interested in coming to see it because it's almost like its own mini podcaster convention. Just in attendance, I believe Steve Shives is showing up. Cogdis has been invited. I don't know if they're going to come, but it's going to be almost a convention in and of itself. And to encapsulate a long story of pre-transition, I have never felt included. Not in my school, not in my family. I've always felt like an outsider looking in, listening to stories of people going, oh yeah, we had this circle of friends and we did this. And I'm going, I don't have that. It's not that I don't feel loved by anybody, but I don't have that community. But ReasonCon showed me that I did. And it wasn't new. There was so many people who came up to me, whether they're friends with me on Facebook, whether I'd been on their podcast, whether I've had them on my podcast. They came up to me, hugged me, told me a story, told me a joke, just talked to me. And for once, I felt like my voice mattered. I felt like I had made a difference. And it was the first convention I'd ever been to where the only people I knew weren't the ones I was going with. And I can't describe what that's like after having 30 years of perceived invisibility to go, I belong here. I belong with these people. And that's not to say that that there weren't a couple of negative things besides the fact that apparently all trans girls look alike, because I was confused for Celeste and Callie, and Celeste was confused for me and Callie. And I don't know what Callie was confused for, but I assume it was, I don't know, Chris Watson or something. But because those, yeah. But anyway, nobody misgendered me outside of one of the bartenders. Nobody asked me what my quote unquote real name was. Nobody had to ask what my pronouns were. Nobody had to challenge who I was, how I felt, and whether or not I belonged there, because for once I did. And even though I had to leave early because I got sick, I was having some pneumonia symptoms and I needed to nip that in the bud because I didn't want to spend all of Saturday coughing through lectures. I felt like one of them. I've been to Secret Lair to see Lucinda and by proxy Heath, Noah, and I went to the Super Bowl party where Eli was there and Anna and I played music together. And it still hadn't quite processed that these people see me as an equal. They see me as someone they respect and whose voice they value. It sounds self-deprecating, but it's not. To say that as a trans woman, my voice in this country does not matter. And people are focused on taking away our rights or on explaining why our existence was the reason Trump got elected. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it was the first time I could go to a place in a group of people and not be the token trans and not be the token gay and not be, just that weird girl, that tall girl, the one with the purple hair or anything like that. I was just Marissa. And that was enough. Some of these podcasters have infinitely more views than I probably ever will and more visibility. And they're the ones who are invited to give the speeches instead of be in the audience. And as I have some of those myself coming up where people are going to come to a place to listen to what I have to say, I don't think I would have the confidence to do that without the secular community. I don't think I would have ever even considered going to Lehigh Valley Humanists or Chicago Atheist Society, or even, for God's sake, hosting my own episode in a theater and selling tickets without those affirmations, without people like No Illusions, without people like Cogdis, without people like Eli, without people like Thomas or Andrew, or even you. I used to have to say, oh my God, can I please come on your podcast? And now I have a deluge of requests to go on their podcasts or come to their group or come to their place or have an opinion. And I don't think I will ever fully adjust to people wanting to talk to me or wanting to hug me or wanting to know who I am. And I'm okay with that because I never want to lose modesty and humility because those are two of the most important things my parents raised me with. But I can't deny that I felt more important and valued at ReasonCon than I ever have in my entire life outside of my husband and my kids.
That is a really sweet story. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you for being a part of it too.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, I think, the second or third story from people that were at ReasonCon that really felt like it was the first time they felt at home with the other people there, and it's really humbling to hear that. So thank you so much. And gosh, the live show thing, that is incredible.
Yeah,
that's going to be great. When is that happening?
It's July 14th.
Okay.
Here, I'll share the event to your page, because I was talking with Steve Shives yesterday, and I said, well, you're close, you should come. And he's like, yeah, and I'll share it. So it's like people who are way more successful than me are coming to my thing, and it's just like, wow.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I'm still not over it, and I don't think I ever will be. But
well, thank you so much for coming on and for telling that story. That's
gladly.
Awesome. And I look forward to many more successes of yours and many more interviews and coming on the show and all that.
Yeah. Now that I'm done with undergrad, I'm pretty much available almost any time. So whenever you need, someone to come on, doesn't matter how long it's been since I've been on, I'm more than happy to be on a show. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, and we might lure you into a comedy sketch sometime, speaking of which.
Oh, please do. I'm a trained improver, I'm a trained actor, and Ari and I do a sketch every week, so nice. Yes, please do that.
All right. Well, I am definitely going to let Mr. Haven know about that, because that would be way super much fun.
You got it.
Awesome. Talk to you later.
Oh my god, I wish I could have this recording going on right now. I wish that you guys were both recording so I could put this on my show.
I was going to say something and now I've forgotten. You've thrown off the whole conversation. No,
I'm sorry. No, yeah, you're
I know this conversation, so if you want me to come on your show and talk about this, that's fine. But
okay. No, but this is a really good dynamic.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that the initial reaction to polyamory and thinking, I don't want to feel inferior. I don't want somebody to be better than me. I want to only date somebody we can only date somebody else that we date together. That's the first thing I was thinking of. That's what we have to do. And then as I looked into poly and as I understood, the benefits for me would be, my partner is depressed and doesn't want me to touch him and won't touch me, and I need that physical contact, so I can go to partner X, and go talk to him, or partner Y rather, because X is and I can get that from them. And that's when I started opening up a lot more.
Now, I don't know if this counts as poly, but I have been in a relationship that does a hall pass kind of thing. I don't know what that counts as. You can have a one night stand when I'm out of town or whatever, and it's not going to bother me, that kind of deal. And I'm totally okay with that. I think it's the emotional relationship is what I don't want someone to have, because I can't physically handle having more than one emotional relationship. Whenever I tried to do that, I was overwhelmed. It's I can hardly handle one person, honestly. I'm just not hardwired to take care of people.
You know what I think is funny about that is, now that I've become what I call a relationship anarchist, and I've stopped looking at relationships as, this is my boyfriend relationship, this is my best friend relationship, this person is this. Now I've started looking at relationships as just relationships and not defining them so distinctly. I've realized that I do have more emotional connections than just my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm connected to a lot of people emotionally, and so is my boyfriend. And so when you start looking at relationships in that way, where you understand that some emotional connections lead to physical connections, and others do not, and you don't really have to call it second boyfriend or second girlfriend or second partner or whatever. You just call it, this is my other friend who I touching butts. Who, you know, we like like my friend back in Maryland who, I mean, like, I just like touching her boobs.
Yeah.
You know, and I did it a lot.
Oh, I have like my best friend Amy, I make out with her like every time I sleep over at her house, but we don't really have like a...
There you go. See, that's kind of a partner thing.
But
I'm trying to find...
Between, like,
go ahead.
That's not just like poly that kind of gets into like the broad umbrella of open.
Open, I think I can do.
Which means that you kind of get to define... Yeah, well, that just means you get to all define what's going on. Everybody gets to buy in. So, like, poly has a little bit more structure, but open is just whatever the fuck you all agree that it is.
Yeah, and see, when I was saying before, I was looking through my notes when I was coming like to the understanding of what poly is. One of my notes that was like, so we started looking into poly in April, and this note was done in November. So it starts off as 3 monsters: sexual relationship, emotional relationship, and attention. And I wrote, like, I can conceive learning how to handle you with someone or you being emotionally connected with someone, but those 2 things need to be dealt with separately. Like, I wanted to get used to him just having sex with people, and then also get used to him having a deep emotional connection with somebody before I could get used to him having a deep emotional sexual connection with somebody, because I'm very compartmentalized anyway. That I'm over that, like, I've gotten over those hurdles, but that was how I first had to really break everything down and deal.
Well, no, that's good. Like, I think that's exactly right. And like I won't tell you that like where I am right now was where I was 10 years ago. I have fucked up a lot in a lot of different types of poly or open relationships. Like, I have made all the fucking mistakes. So it's like, just because where you are now feels good, like do what feels good for you right now. And
right. Well, do what works, not.
But yeah, like let it change, because it will, probably.
Oh yeah, let it, like, the advice I'm giving my friend, or what I would give anybody, is to, like, define your rules, but always keep at the beginning, like, these are my rules, these are the hard things I can't get past, but, you know, give it time and be able to push it forward. And, like, Brandon and I started looking at this in 2015. It's 2017. Neither of us have done anything outside of our relationship. Like, we're very organic, and we're taking it as slowly as possible, and making sure, because we also had, like, a lot of high stress points. Right. And so, you know, at one point we were supposed to move, and he brought up the fact that there were, like, girls in the area he didn't get a chance to fuck and kind of wanted to, and I was like,
whoa.
I was like, I hear you, I really do, but I'm afraid that because of this, we're already stressed, that emotional fallout will break us. Like, we won't be able to deconstruct why we're upset because we're already stressed about moving. And like, we talked about it, and he didn't have to. At first I think he was just being hypothetical, and I was like, well, this is real. This is how I feel. And he was like, oh, well, that girl's not actually going to have sex with me, so it's fine. I was like, okay.
No, but it's still good. Like, regardless of what the outcome would have been, or was or wasn't, the fact that you actually had that on the table is the important part. Like, that's, like, you talked about it.
Oh yeah, I talk about everything all the time. Nice. And we still, like, we check in, like, we just the other day, like, basically had a check-in where we talked about, we have the same conversation every few months where it's like, I go, hey, these are the things I don't think I'm comfortable with, I wish I was, and he reminds me that where he's at in poly and, like, what he's looking for and how it doesn't contradict what I'm, you know what I mean? Like, he,
right,
like,
we check in in some way.
Yeah, we do that a lot. Because I think that a lot of times, like, especially at first, I was like, we need to do this now. We need to start doing poly now while I'm fresh and I'm remembering my emotional lessons and I'm fresh and ready. Because I was afraid that what would happen is I would go, because I'm a sponge. I soaked up I became poly in like 6 months, you know, like, I soaked up a ton of information and then I was ready. And then I was afraid I would fall back into monogamy and then have to do it all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of happens every once in a while. Like, I'll sit up in bed and think, I do not want to be poly right now. Like, I can't handle if he went out and did. And I'll say that, and he's like, I'm not dating anybody. Like, we're fine. What are you so concerned about? And I'm like, no, but if it happened. And he's like, it's not happening right now. So,
can you please go back to sleep?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm so interested in your conversation. Like, I know I'm not being chatty. I'm just, like, soaking up some knowledge, you know, because it's outside of my realm of knowledge at all. So this is going to sound like a stupid question, okay?
No
such thing.
So if you're in a poly relationship, like, I have a very hard time finding the time to, like, hang out with my girlfriend now, and I'm just dating one person. So, like, how do you handle that?
Everybody handles
someone
it
who needs to,
differently.
like, okay, because I can't imagine, like, you know, every Sunday, like, G and I go through our calendars and we're like, okay, so what are we doing this week? Because she's in, like, a fraternity and 2 clubs, and I'm an RA and have another job and have this, and so we have a lot of stuff going on, and so we, like, plan, like, 3 days a week that we can see each other, if that many. And so I'm just thinking about, like, oh my god, what if I had, like, 2 girlfriends? How would I possibly do that?
You find the time, or you don't. You know, either you make that relationship be that important and, like, give up other things, or you just say, like, this is a relationship that I will let pass because I just don't have the energy for it right now. And believe me, I'm a fucking introvert. So, like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm an introvert, and
So, like, and obviously I don't really have any, I'm very much a lone wolf type of person anyway, so I literally have one friend here, one friend there, you know, and I make time for my one friends, you know, and so adding in, like, one more friend that I just happen to be sleeping with doesn't seem like that much of a big deal to me, because I rarely hang out with my other one friends, so it's not like I'm neglecting anybody, and I live with my boyfriend, so I see him all the time. But I love the way, like, Reid Mihalko talks about structuring, you know, poly relationships and things like that. He's my guru.
I love Reid.
I love him so much.
Would fuck that boy in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's on my bucket list. My fuck it list.
Okay, so keep going. Reid Mihalko.
Anyway, yeah.
His thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've lost my train of thought now. But he talks about, like, how to have, because I don't really want I don't want another boyfriend or another girlfriend, except for the fact that, like, some of my close girlfriend friendships, you know, can become physical in some way or another, and I'm open to that, but that, to me, is no different from hanging out with a friend. But I am interested in having, like, fuck buddies, or, like, 1 or 2 who do things a little bit differently, so that I've got some difference.
Like, variety.
Variety, yeah. Because there are things that, like, I'm not interested in doing with Brandon, and vice versa. So,
yeah, like, please don't ask me to go out to a museum, or please don't ask me to go out and listen to this band. Like, go find your other friend that you may or may not be fucking, and go have a good time.
Okay.
Well, exactly.
That does make sense.
Or, like, I'm not interested in being a pet in BDSM terms. Like, it's just not my thing, but Brandon likes that. But I don't like dogs, and so if I were, like, an animal, I would be a wild cat, and I would not want to be touched.
You could be a snake, and you could just, like,
lay there,
slither around on the floor.
Dude, my snake has been so weird today. Virgil is, like, he's been pushing at the top of his bin, like he wants to get out. So I opened it this morning, and he got out, and then he got back in, and he's been in his bin all day, but it's been open. It's really weird.
He's like my cat.
Yeah, he just, like, didn't want to be closed up in the bin.
Aw.
Weird snake. But yeah, no, so like the way Reed talks about how to have like fuck buddies and not fall in love with them and not create like actual relationships with them is really interesting, where it's like, don't connect with them. Well, you can connect with them, but don't talk to them 24/7, and try not to see each other more than once, maybe twice a month. Like, because NRE, or that new relationship energy where you're just like, oh my god, this person is amazing, is a thing for everybody. And
Yeah, you have to go through that. At least in some way.
Well, although I don't know if, now that I know what NRE is and how it affects me, I'm not so sure. Like, I'm very able to, like, control myself mentally. And so I'm almost wondering if I'll ever, like, I might feel it minorly. Like, I had a big crush on a girl last summer that was, like, adorable to go through, I guess. But it wasn't crazy NRE. It wasn't, I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to feel it again now that I know what it is. But, which is fine with me because it's like a drug. It's like being addicted and makes you neglect other things.
But I think that, isn't that true of like, of all things? Like whatever it is that you're wrapped up in? Like, you know, whether it's like holy fuck, I'm going to ReasonCon 3. Like, my life is going to surround that for a little while. Or like, my girlfriend's coming into town. Like, that's going to be all in my thoughts for right now.
No, I don't do that.
Well, and then I go to work.
I'm a weird
like,
person.
Everything disappears for like 9 hours because I'm at work. And then I come back and I'm like, holy fuck, like, here's the rest of my life waiting for me.
Yeah, no.
No? Okay.
No, I mean, I literally, like, I don't know, I just look back at when I have been in NRE and didn't realize it, and how much damage it did, and how difficult it made my relationship at first, you know, because I was like, why aren't you texting me, and things like that. I was just so connected, and it has definitely fucked up several relationships.
I've made those fuck ups too.
Yeah, and so never again.
Oh, you say that now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I can be like that because I had that one really bad breakup once where I was out of commission for 7 months because I was so depressed and fucked up. And when I got out of it, I was like, never again. And then my last breakup, I was over it. I like did a pity party for a week, and then I was like, cool. So.
Oh, you'll find another way to fuck up because we all do.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying that I won't fuck it up. I'm just saying, like, I don't think NRE is going to be my.
That's not going to be your Achilles heel.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that I think monogamous people should know about. Like, every time I see a monogamous person who's, like, talking about how in love they are in their relationship, and I'm like, you've been dating for 2 months.
Yeah, just wait. You'll get the fuck over it. Are
you calling me out? I'm sorry.
No. I was actually referencing, I had a friend back in Maryland who would come to me.
Like, lesbians move really fast. You're aware of this, right?
Oh yeah, I've dated a few.
We're like U-Haul gay.
Yeah.
Our first date, she like slept over that night, which was like, and like we didn't have sex. She just like slept over. It was kind of strange, but it was really cool. It was really fun. So we like didn't really have like a getting to know each other phase. We just kind of moved in together. Like,
you are U-Haul gay.
We really are.
And it's funny, I think like, that happens a lot in college too, because you literally live in a tiny room. So like,
well, she doesn't go to my college.
Oh,
yeah. She goes to which is like, well, it's like 15 minutes away, so it's not like that
pumpkin.
big a deal. But she like, yeah, I know, right? But she, like, kind of just moved into my room. She has a drawer now. I don't know how that fucking happened. I just opened a drawer, and I'm like, why are these clothes in here? So I guess we're moving in. Yeah, we just U-Haul gated up. So I have, like, I think, like, our second date, she gave me a jacket of hers, which is, like, really normal, and I tried to give it back because I'm... Like, it's the transformation of my state of mind during our relationship was ridiculous. Because, like, the first week I was like, I just want to take it slow and, you know, I don't want to, like, rush into anything. And then, like, 2 weeks later, I'm like, come live with me. You're the best thing ever. Like, I'm getting stupid. And that is NRE,
That's
definitely.
yeah. Well, see, like, so I wasn't referencing you guys at all. I was referencing, I had a friend who, because I was she came to me for advice all the time, like relationship advice, but when I came out, when I started being poly and like opening up my relationship, she was totally not into that, didn't think it was kosher, thought it was very strange, wouldn't listen to me. I had a lot of people telling me that, like, Brandon didn't love me and things like that. I'm like, fuck you.
Oh,
you know nothing about my relationship. But, well, anyway, so, like, she stopped. I would give her advice, and she'd be like, well, I'm not open. Like, she basically would, like, any advice I gave her was, like, not cool, because I'm in an open relationship, so whatever. But
Yeah,
she started dating this. Yeah, she started dating this guy, and, like, they got married after 2 months of dating, and I was like, don't do this. You're experiencing, like, this thing. And she was like, no, I know what I'm doing. And then they got divorced in 6 months, and it was a horrible marriage, and, you know, there were all these problems, and I was like, I kind of don't know how to help you, because you don't want to hear what I have to say, you know, and you're not listening to me anyway, so I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a converse story to that. My sister met and married a guy within, like, from the day that they met to the day that they married was 6 weeks. And I know, like, and my mom, my sister, and I joked about it in the car on the way up to her getting married, that she's like, you know what? Your dad is probably in the car right now going, thank God she's marrying a boy. Thank God she's marrying a boy. And they've been married since the early 90s. They have 2 kids. They're still together.
Wow.
well, but that's such a rarity, you know?
It is, but...
Well, that's a rarity in any relationship, though, honestly, to stay together for that long.
Well, but they've been friends first and foremost. Like, they've not always been easy, but it's always come back to they're still friends. Even when it got rough.
I think that one of the big things is that I felt like my friend she was missing a lot of tools anyway in relationship, like intelligence. And so it was going to be bad no matter what. And she also had a very, how do I put it, romantic comedy type view on how relationships should go.
Oh, God. Poor thing. She never stood a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, like, be mean or anything,
no.
but that is how I,
no.
like, she very much looked at, like, cultural view of how a relationship should be and was like, that's what a good relationship is, you know? He should be doing these things. And I'm like, well, you need to tell him, but also you're being really, that's not, like, possible. Like, he has his own life and things like that, yeah.
But, well, for some couples that actually works out, or for some relationship units, if everybody's in their back pockets, like, everybody's happy, for me, that's not possible. Like, I require that anybody that I'm in a relationship with has a life outside of my relationship with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they have to go, like, be out in the world and have their own things that they do.
As my friend yesterday just told me, somebody who has a passion that's not me.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, I like people who are passionate about different things. Even though I'm a narcissist and want all the attention, I understand. I also don't want the attention and want you to leave me the fuck alone sometimes. So,
Deal. All
yeah.
right.
Hey everybody, it is Bella Constrictor here. Just a quick interruption. We got a little distracted during this talk and started talking about alcohol. If you want to know how much of an alcoholic we all are, then you will have to become a patron for that little tidbit of content. Now, back to our conversation.
And that's the story of how I had my first hangover on an airplane. Like, that was horrifying. Absolutely the worst thing. I didn't know hangovers were real because I was 18 when I started drinking, and I just didn't get them. And so then I drank like a whole fucking fishbowl full of liquor.
I used to not drink. So I used to only get hangovers when I was already like really emotionally upset and drinking. I would wake up the next morning and just be unable to get up. The worst one that I remember right now is like from a time that I didn't know my boyfriend was going to break up with me. No, we almost broke up apparently, and then like I didn't know until a couple months ago where he was like, yeah, that was a breakup. And I was like, really? Because I went home and we lived together and nothing happened. Anyway.
You were unsuccessful, dear.
That was an unsuccessful breakup. Well, all two of them were unsuccessful. Anyway,
That would be both for the people keeping math.
all two. Well, there was like one at the very beginning, and then like 2 weeks later, we were fuck buddies for 6 months, and then we realized we were dating.
You realized you were dating? Oh, God.
We
Good times.
agreed. We were like, fine, I guess we're dating.
That's what I did with the guy who really liked me being on my period.
Yeah.
We like fucked for like 6 weeks, and then he was like, "Can I call you my girlfriend?" I was like, "I guess, yeah."
Oh,
I
poor pumpkin.
suppose. But yeah, so, and then there was like that breakup, which wasn't a real breakup. It was we have problems. And I was like, I'm upset because my parents are moving out of the house I've been living in for 10 years. That's my problem. And he was like, okay, see you at home. And then we had a breakup during the poly thing that didn't work.
Can you vague that up like a little bit more? That would be awesome.
Yeah, we started talking about the poly stuff in April, and then in May, he had shut down and stopped really listening when we were talking, because I was processing and very emotional, and like I would have a discussion and be like, what if this is how I feel about that, and things like that. And he decided on his own that this wasn't going to work, I wasn't going to be able to be poly, and he didn't want to continue the relationship because it would, it wasn't going to work, and he wanted to be poly, and he didn't want to hurt me anymore, or something like that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you guys talked about it before you
Some
went through
variation of that. We didn't talk about that.
Communication
He just decided,
is really important.
Yeah. He decided that without telling me, and wasn't listening to our conversations that we were continuing to have, so I was like, we're cool, and stuff, and he did a couple things to push me away, like talking to some girl online, and I saw his phone texts, which I never do, but I saw them once, and I was like, you fucked up, because I wasn't ready for this, because we're still talking about it, type of thing. And,
Yeah.
And then he tried to break up with me, and I packed all of my stuff up so he would see what it looked like if I moved out of the house, because all the shit was mine. And then we actually talked, and we had a lot of sex.
All right. As one does.
Yeah, and then I was like, I don't understand where you're coming from, because I'm on board. Like, I'm cool with us being poly, I want to do it, but I'm still working through stuff. And he was like, oh, I wasn't hearing that.
Okay.
And then we were fine.
Yeah.
So he's gotten, and also I was overwhelming him. So like I got better at waiting for him to process things, and he got better at actually listening to what I was saying.
Hey, look what happens when communication does.
Amazing.
Things. Like,
I love it.
I love communication. One of my like great tricks for communication, though, when you have a guy that shuts down when you try and talk to him, because that happens like all the time. Yeah, I'm sure girls do too, but I've only had experiences with guys. So, but is to email them what you want to say, and then say, I want to talk about this in person, but I want you to process all of this first, and then come and talk to me. That's definitely worked for me in the past, too, where I had something that I really needed to discuss, but I knew was going, like, I needed the response, and so I put it out there and said, okay, come to me when you're ready.
You know what? Actually, I have something very, very similar, which is my now ex-husband was a non-communicator, and he later apologized for that. But I made that very, very clear going forward. Like, if you say, I'm fine, what that means is I'm fine. I'm okay with you saying, I'm pissed at you right now. I need to process it, or like I need to think about it and come at this from like a better angle. And then I'll say, okay, so if you haven't checked in with me in like 2-3 days, do you want me to check in with you? He's like, no, I've got this. Like I'll talk to you in 24 hours. I just want to be like less mad. That is perfect communication. Like, you don't have to tell me right now. You just have to tell me eventually. But that's a requirement in any relationship that I have going forward is just let me know where you're at. You don't get to just like brush everything under the rug and have it be a non-issue.
Yeah. And like, I think that on top of when we were dealing with the poly stuff, I was also learning how to deal with him, because we'd just moved in together. We'd only been together in an apartment for maybe 6 months. So I was
Was this your first like live-in, or was
no,
this
my first live-in was a total disaster. So
Okay, so you'd at least like you at least fucked it up.
yeah,
once
and
before.
so a lot of the things that he was doing, I was making a lot of the same mistakes, but also, I mean, I don't know. I was pulling from that, and I do a lot of internalization these days where I look at why I'm reacting to something and then look at my past and figure out. So I hadn't learned how to do that yet. So I was still reacting to things from past mistakes with him.
Oh, absolutely.
But
yeah.
so that was a thing, but also he was really he gets really depressed in February and really depressed sometime in the fall. Like he just like hits super lows. And I didn't know that at the time. So I was also dealing with that fallout, and NRE was wearing off at the same time, and he wanted to be poly. So there was just a shit ton of stuff like going on.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot, but we made it. So hooray. Yeah, so I don't know. I forget what we were talking about way before we started talking about me.
Let's talk about you some more.
Wine, probably.
Oh yeah, we were talking about wine.
Does red or white wine go with chips and salsa?
Everything goes with chips.
Both?
If PSF is your favorite show, here's a way to let us know. Go to Patreon and search for us. Then donate your hard-earned cash so we can keep making things that make you think and laugh and cry and do spit takes or laugh on public transportation at inappropriate times. If you want to help out but can't afford to donate, you can always review us and 5-star rate on iTunes, Google Play Store, and Stitcher to help undo the damage of trolling MRAs, giving us 1-star ratings because our show has the word feminism in the title. Then other people can find our show too. And we can keep making this show for you amazing people out there who tell others about the podcast by insisting they sit down and listen to the whole episode right now. So thanks for listening and supporting our show. We love you all, and we thought you should know.
Okay, so hey everybody, it's Bella Constrictor. I am here with Miss Anthrope.
Hello.
Yes,
That was like
haven't
Melania
heard
Trump.
you.
Hello, I'm sorry.
No, it's been a while since you and I have done a segment together.
I know, it's so good now.
Yeah, and today we're going to, or in this segment, we're going to talk about Frida Kahlo. The reason I wanted to discuss Frida, the artist, was because I recently visited an exhibit of her work at the Dali Museum in Mexican-born artist Frida Kahlo is an inspiration. She's kind of like the ultimate icon of strength and acceptance, resilience. Born in 1907, she did not receive any widespread recognition for her work until after her death in 1954.
Which is pretty much every artist's story.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some kind of equate that to she lived in her husband's shadow, which we will get into a little bit later when we cover her relationships. I don't know, I just feel like that's just a thing. You're an artist, you've got a small following when you're alive, and then you die, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're the best person ever.
Yeah, because they know you're not going to make anything better than that, because you're dead.
Oh, that's a good point. It's like, this is it.
Yeah,
now,
that's all you have to offer.
Now it becomes a commodity, right? Like a limited resource.
Oh yeah, capitalism. There we go.
So, she mostly painted self-portraits and life events. She used painting as a way to express herself and her experiences. And even without being familiar with her, you probably recognize some of her most famous works. Here, let me do something a little weird since this is not a visual medium. I want you to close your eyes.
My eyes are closed.
Oh, okay. I am, of course, talking to the listener, but you can also close your eyes if you want. You're in a dorm room. Incense is burning by the window, typical dorm room furniture hidden underneath a mess of papers. On the wall above a tiny desk is a poster. A woman stares down at you. Her gaze is both calm and fierce. Her famous bold eyebrows come together, giving her elegant face a serious demeanor. She is dressed in white and wears a necklace of thorns. Once you are able to wrench your eyes from hers, you immediately notice the animals. Directly behind her right shoulder is a black cat, back arched, ears flattened. It's not looking at you, thank goodness, so something else must have spooked it. On her left is a black monk, entirely apathetic to the surroundings. Whatever it is holding in its fingers is far more interesting. This cat and monkey mirror the mood emanating from the woman. Calm, apathy, over top of fierce fire. And all of this is framed by giant green leaves, which serve to bring the whole scene closer to the surface. Okay, open your eyes and go Google self-portrait with thorn necklace and hummingbird. Frida painted that in 1940. Now that you're back and you know who we're talking about, because I'm sure when you saw that painting you went, oh, right, this artist.
Yeah. It's the one you talked about in your Spanish class in high school.
And your art history class and your feminism theory class, I'm sure. Yeah, well, let's get into a little bit about who she was. Well, first off, there's so much about her that we're definitely not going to cover everything in this little segment. I'm toying with the idea of doing a Patreon bonus episode of just stuff about her, but that is all, that's all whether or not life, works out.
Gotcha.
Works out to allow me to actually do all the research I'd feel like I'd need to do that.
Understandable.
Which is actually reading the books instead of reading articles. Anywho, I would say that probably one of the most recognizable things about Frida was that she experienced an immense amount of suffering throughout her life. She contracted polio at age 6 and suffered from spina bifida. Then there was the bus accident, and this changed Frida's life forever. It happened when she was about 18. In the book Letters of Frida Kahlo, it includes a 1926 note. It includes a note written in 1926 to her first boyfriend, Alejandro Gomez Arias?
How do you spell it?
Arias.
Oh, yeah, that'd be like Arias.
I took sign language in high school and not Spanish.
That's okay, I'm fluent in Spanish.
Well, the note said, "A short while ago, I was a girl walking in a world of colors, of clear and tangible shapes. Everything was mysterious, and something was hiding. Guessing its nature was a game for me. If you knew how terrible it is to attain knowledge all of a sudden, like lightning elucidating the earth. Now I live in a painful planet, transparent as ice, as if I had learned everything at the same time in a matter of seconds." She was bedridden for months after the accident, and this is when she began to paint. Don't quote me on this, because I don't have it written right in my notes, but I believe she was actually studying to become a doctor or do something in the medical field before her accident.
Wait, so the accident was the one that left her, almost paralyzed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like she could get around a little bit after she recovered, but it required many surgeries, and because she also suffered from the spina bifida and things, her mobility was already pretty low.
Oh, yeah.
One quote I have from her is, "I am not sick, I am broken, but I am happy to be alive as long as I can paint."
Oh.
And one painful result of the accident was that she was unable to have children. When I went to the exhibit, there's all the famous paintings that a lot of people know about her, and the exhibit that I was in really was following her through her life. So it was showing a lot of sketches from sketchbooks and things like that. So, there's a lot of little known things, I guess, about her growing as an artist. And I was really struck by one drawing that came from one of her journals. It was a graphite sketch with her in the center, and a fetus was visible growing inside of her.
Oh.
In one arm, she's holding a paint palette, and to the side of her, she drew, beneath the paint palette, she's drawn, plants, and you can see underneath the ground, you can see their roots growing. Imagery of plants and animals really shows up regularly in her work, so this is not surprising. But on the other side of her, she drew the stillborn child that she had with its umbilical cord still attached to it and to her. And there's a single tear like falling from her cheek. I, of course, forgot to take an image of the name of the painting, but I do have an image of the drawing, so I will post that in the show notes. She did stuff like that all the time that were very powerful. I believe she had maybe just the one, maybe it was a couple. I don't really remember. Again, I guess I need to read some more things about her. But I think she had at least one actual miscarriage, which her inability to have children was something that really weighed heavily on her.
Yeah, I never actually knew that. I always just assumed that she didn't have kids because she was too busy being Frida Kahlo or something, you know?
No, I think... Well, no, that's wrong. I was going to say, I think the whole not having children movement is new, but it's not. It's just we have more choices these days.
Yeah, I was thinking it was more along the lines of her as, like, a feminist.
Yeah.
Like, the active decision to not have a traditional nuclear family. But that actually makes me really sad. When you're describing
she definitely wanted to have children. I think, and you have to think about, like, the culture she comes from, which is big families, and families are important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I would like to read a couple pieces from an article that was published on Solidarity, that was published on solidarity-us.org, was written by Mary Motan Meadows. The entire article is really well worth the read, but these few paragraphs really stood out to me regarding Frida's subject matter and what it has sort of become in today's culture. So I'm going to do that really quickly. It's just a couple of paragraphs, and I'm definitely going to link the article in the show notes and suggest that everybody go read it. And so, quote, Kahlo's art and life often reveals the ongoing struggle for self-determination in the lives of women. Kahlo forged an identity in her paintings outside the strictures of her society. Her art deals with conception, pregnancy, abortion, and gender roles in an unusually frank and open manner, thus making them political statements, because women have not generally felt free to address such personal subjects so publicly. The artist's life and art, then, appeals not only to feminist scholars, but a wide general audience of women as well as men. And then they go on, like, that sounds like it. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. But then a little later in the article, they point out that the interest in Kahlo has spread to fashion and the movie world. Images of her face and paintings have been culturally appropriated to appear on postcards, calendars, t-shirts, jewelry, and films. Kahlo's life and art have become another commodity that can be sold in our consumer-oriented society. And as I guess someone from a book that they're quoting, an author named Helland, he noted that Kahlo's pain becomes perversion. Her art becomes soap opera. He further observes that the psychological reductionism that equates Kahlo's imagery with, quote, a desire to paint away her accident, suffering, and pain, does little justice to her work. It reduces an important group of paintings, done by a deeply intellectual and socially committed artist, to simply a visual cry of personal angst.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I read the article, I was like, that's powerful. That's
heavy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, because I was just thinking about, I've seen, like, t-shirts with Frida Kahlo on them in Forever 21.
Right.
And places like that. And then I was thinking about just the little that I do know about her coming, up front is that she was, like a socialist or a communist. And so she had like a very rough relationship with, the marketplace in general.
And I think that you actually are coming from a place that a lot of people aren't. I think that what they're saying is that a lot of people just know that she was in an accident and, wasn't a lot of pain, and that comes out in her art. And and there's so much more to it. She was so much smarter than they're making her out to be, and she was very politically active, which we're not going to get into right now because it's a lot, and I did not have time to read.
Oh, that's totally fine. Yeah, just as the resident Marxist of our podcast, yes, I feel the need to bring up that it's kind of like, ironic or not ironic, I guess, like perverted the way that her art is used as like or her face and her likeness is used as like a symbol of very commercial, like very what's the word, like neoliberal feminism, I guess, if that makes sense. Like when you see like women first discovering feminism, which is awesome, way to go, and you're buying like shirts with her likeness on it and stuff like that. And I think, okay, how would Frida Kahlo feel about her shirt being sold in Forever 21 or Rue 21 or whatever the hell? So,
right.
Okay, that's my little tangent. Let's learn more.
So the next little bit about her that I wanted to touch on was her relationship or relationships, so to speak. But it is as the non-monogamous person on this podcast, her relationship really fascinates me. In a letter that she wrote to friends, she writes, "From 1929 to the present, 1944, I don't remember any time when the
Diego Rivera.
I don't remember any time when the Rivera couple did not have at least one female companion in their home. What changed was the nature of the company. In the past, it was closer to worldly love. Now it is more filial. You know what I mean." And actually, I totally didn't know what she meant, and I had to Google the definition of filial.
Mm-hmm. And what did we come up with?
Filial. Dutiful, devoted, like a display of affection more due towards a son or daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what she means is that they would often have outside companions or female companions living with them in their home, and it would start off being maybe more lustful and would turn into a respectful, affectionate, just sort of a more companionate love.
Yeah, so it kind of like they invited in like a third, I guess, for the relationship, and then it kind of evolves beyond that.
Yeah, and there's a lot when we talk about the Rivera couple, when she talks about that, she's referring to her husband Diego Rivera, who they married in 1929. They moved around a lot. He is a famous artist. To be honest, I don't know anything about him. A lot more people seem to know about her through him, and I don't know anything about him. I know more about her. But she often followed his career. They were following his career. Now, I didn't know she wasn't allowed to live in the United States. I think maybe early on she was, because it says that they were in San Francisco and New York and Detroit at times.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I could have been wrong about that, but I did think there was something about there being like some conflict with her staying in the United States, but it could have been Diego that they didn't want in the United States because, I guess it could.
They were both active members of the Communist Party.
Yeah, so I do know that I did like a tiny bit of research on Diego for like a Spanish class a couple years ago, and I remember them saying something along the lines of he was like not seen as particularly welcome in the United States, and that was during the Red Scare and a lot of things like that happening. So
right, that makes sense. Hold on one second. I have this great little artist book. And they have Frida Kahlo in here, but it's her plus Diego. Like, instead of, like, just doing her or just doing him, they did them both in one little story. And I always found that really strange. Because everybody else got their own page.
Yeah.
But the way they're described, it says, distinguished Mexican muralist and distinctive Mexican painter stormily married to each other.
Stormily.
Yeah, and it starts off saying, when Diego and Frida were married, he was 42 and on his third marriage, and she was 22. He was a national monument, and she was teaching herself to paint. So there were plenty of differences. But he always encouraged her painting. I feel like, we will never know, but they did not have a traditional marriage, and both of them had many affairs, or as people say, quote unquote affairs, and. A lot of times articles and things will point out that even though she had her own lovers, she was often hurt and troubled by her husband's affairs. And they divorced once and remarried and all of these things. I have all this language now, this non-monogamous language that I can attach to their relationship that I don't think many people even think to do. And of course, I will never know. But in my mind, it makes sense that he was older and she was younger, and they obviously had a really respectful relationship, and there were things that she probably couldn't do for him because of her, sexually, for instance, because of her disability. But he encouraged her to follow her dreams and obviously supported her through her disabilities and through her...
I've seen descriptions of her as having kind of a rough mental health as well as physical health. And I'm not sure if this is a true thing or something that I made up in my head, or maybe like a folklore kind of thing about Frida Kahlo. But did you see anything about her father getting involved with her marriage to Diego Rivera in your research? So I have been told before, and we can take this out if it's not true. I'll look it up in a few minutes. But I was told at one point that there was when they first started seeing each other, Frida left him pretty early on in the relationship and went to live at home, and her father basically told Diego, hey, come get Frida. She needs you. You need her. You need to get married. And so Diego came to their family home and picked up Frida and took her away, and they got married.
You know what? I think that so in this particular exhibit that I went to, there was a lot of those, which I hate at museums. I really do, but it's just walls of text.
Oh my God, that's the
on
word.
A wall. And it's just like, here, read this short paper. And you're like, I don't want to read that short paper. I want to look at pictures. That's
why. A library or a museum?
I do think I briefly saw something about that, but we'll have to look into it more. Or maybe one of our listeners has a little bit of insight on that, and they can tell us.
Yes, if you do, that would be really helpful because, let me know if I'm making an ass of myself.
But anyway, so I obviously look at their relationship with a lot more of an open mind. And even if, it was, I don't know what times were like back then, so... less access to mental health facilities, less access to relationship coaches, less access to a lot of things. So the turmoil that we may read in their relationship might have been easily dealt with now. You know what I mean? Would have been things that people today could search on the internet and go, oh, okay, I just need to, you know what I mean?
It's a lot more of a support community now that is available.
Now I'm looking through this, I don't know how much of this book is true. I mean, this is a book written for children, so that might have been why. But it's like, for all their differences, what kept Kahlo and Rivera together? Both loved to laugh. She had a contagious belly laugh and once wrote, "Nothing is worth more than laughter." She tried whenever possible to deal with her pain by using humor. Rivera was known as a hugely entertaining teller of tall tales and made up stories about himself. At parties, the two of them made friends laugh by pouring powdered sugar all over the table and creating cityscapes.
Oh, that's kind of cute. Okay, so I was just looking at... I was really, concerned with if I got that story of, her father, right? And I can't find anything about it, so someone might have just told me that in class one day, and I took it up. But there is a thing that talks about, some of the identities of people that she... ended up being with, and do you know she had a relationship with Leon Trotsky and with Josephine Baker?
No, but I did know that she had an affair, or an alleged affair, with Georgia O'Keeffe.
Huh.
Which is evidenced by some of, I think, Kahlo's own writings. Which is amazing, because I freaking love Georgia O'Keeffe. So,
yeah,
the fact that I can, for realistically... ship my two favorite painters together.
I love Josephine Baker, so I was whenever I saw that, I was oh,
yeah, she was a film.
Yeah, she's a musician and an actress.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did remember reading something about that, because that was that affair, or that relationship with Josephine was apparently a big deal, so a lot of stuff is written about that one.
Yeah, she also was, I think she might have been a civil rights activist, which was early on.
Basically, the last little bit that I have on her for this segment is there's so much more about her. I couldn't even get into. We haven't even touched on, her political leanings and the criticisms of Mexican and American society that she had. And like I said, I will probably do a whole Patreon-only episode on her if I can. But for now, I want to leave you guys with a quote from Frida herself, which is, "I used to think I was the strangest person in the world, but then I thought, there are so many people in the world. There must be someone just like me who feels bizarre and flawed in the same ways I do. I would imagine her, and imagine that she must be out there thinking of me, too. Well, I hope that if you are out there and read this and know that, yes, it is true, I'm here, and I'm just as strange as you."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, me too. It's such a great quote.
All right, so today I'm here with Marissa Alexa McCool from the Inciting Incident podcast. Welcome, Marissa.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a pleasure to meet you this weekend.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about my Hugs signature t-shirt. Every time I look at it, I giggle a little bit. It's great. It was so much fun.
And mine stands out in purple, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I believe I've got a glory hole written on there from Cecil from
As would be
Cognitive
appropriate.
Dissonance. Yep. And somebody drew a penis on Princess Sparkle Farts. So
Was it Eli? I'm sure it was Eli.
no, it was actually Big Bang Betty from Country Fried Free Thought podcast.
That was my third guess.
Yep. Yeah. Eli, I don't know if I got Eli to sign it. I think I did. I know I got Anna to sign it, but I'm now questioning myself. I'm going to have to go through there and like tag everybody on Facebook and go, okay, who all signed this shirt? Because I need to know who is which signature, because I couldn't see it when I was being signed. So
Yeah. Anna's a peach.
yeah, she's great. And that Hufflepuff sweater she was wearing was just darling. So yeah, ReasonCon was fun.
It sure was. And if you weren't there, God hates you.
And if you were there, God hates you also.
Exactly. But we had more fun doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm just relieved now that it went without too many problems, and yeah, that's done.
I unfortunately
Moving
got sick on Saturday, so I had to leave, and I really didn't want to. But on the bright side, I got home on Saturday and had all of Sunday to sort of recharge before going to my final week of undergrad.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. Wow. So almost congratulations. It's coming.
I'd say congratulations are in order.
Okay.
I turned in 2 finals today. That means I only have 2 tests to worry about, and I'm not too worried about them. So,
Awesome. Well, congratulations then. I know how difficult that can be. And yeah, it'll be a relief to have it over with.
I certainly didn't help myself along the way. So, yeah, 100-mile commute each way, 4 times a week for 4 years.
Wow. So for our listeners who aren't familiar with you in the podcasting community and all that, tell us a little bit about Inciting Incident and what you do with the show.
Okay. Well, Inciting Incident is my primary podcast. It's my baby. We're a good 90 episodes in. I wouldn't call it specifically an atheist podcast. It's more of a current events through the skeptical and LGBT point of view. Heavily interview based. We talk about one topic a show pretty much, just trying to cover it in depth with rationality, reason, and as much as we possibly can, fairness. Although when it comes to things like feminism and LGBT equality, we're not as willing to be fair we're not nice to bigots. We'll put it that way. I am involved with 3 other podcasts. The Sister Getting Out of Hand with Ari Stillman. That's kind of a little satire project we're doing. I'm a co-host of Doubting Dogma with Molly Unmormon. It's her show about learning about skepticism through me. So I kind of get to guide her along the way because I turned her on to cognitive dissonance and ruined everything. And I'm also on a podcast called Full Frontal Nerdity. And my job on that show is to smile and look pretty and be the only girl. So I can sit there and go, yep. I know some of those words. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. The whole reason this podcast even exists is because I had so much time being the token vagina at our local humanist group. So yeah, I've been there, done that.
I get to be the token trans girl. I guess Callie Wright is too. Although to be fair, I was confused for Callie. Callie was confused for me, and Celeste was confused for both of us because I guess all trans girls with glasses look alike.
What?
Yeah. At ReasonCon, Celeste was confused for both of us 4 times. I was confused for Callie 4 times. And God knows how many times Callie was confused for one of the 2 of us. So Celeste and I have decided that we're going to adopt each other's identities. I get to be Celeste, which means I got proposed to at ReasonCon. Yay!
Yay! Oh, did you see, at least one black guy had on his name tag, #not Ishmael.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I was like, I was talking to, when Matt Dillahunty got there, I was like, I'm really glad that you grew your beard out for this, Matt, because you and Jean, for some reason, get mixed up all the time. And Jean thankfully had a short beard, but like at Reason Rally, people kept going, "Oh, Matt Dillahunty." I'm like, nope, that's Jean.
Yeah, we atheists are coming a long way of coming out of the library and, getting involved with social circles instead of just being on the internet together. So it's not surprising that we still have a long way to go in terms of knowing who each other is.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be pretty hard to forget. I'm thinking, the unicorn at a ReasonCon. So, yeah. I might have to make that a thing because that was fun.
I figured being the one in a corset with purple hair would be enough. Nope. Still got confused for Callie.
Yep. No, the purple hair was really pretty, by the way. I really like that color on you. So you're involved in lots of podcasts. That is a lot of talking. And plus you're finishing up your degree. What major are you in?
I'm graduating from the University of Pennsylvania with a focus on English and creative writing, cinema and media studies with a focus on screenwriting, and a minor in anthropology, specifically cultural anthropology.
Wow, that's really specific and awesome.
Well, the nice thing about going to a rich kid's school while not being a rich kid is I get to look at all these people and go, wow, you guys get classes that are so specific. Like, you don't just have English Composition 1. There was actually a class called Wasting Time on the Internet.
What?
I swear it's a real thing.
Oh, yeah. I went to, there was a rich kid school in my hometown that had a class on, Sindarin and the Silmarillion. I was like, wow, you guys have a lot of time on your hands.
Well, there could definitely be an entire class on the Silmarillion because nobody knows what the fuck it's about. So
right?
It's like the Silmarillion, Donnie Darko, and anything by David Lynch. Let's just throw it into a class and go, yeah, nobody knows. So it's all interpretation.
There was one about the theology of The Simpsons also.
Oh my God.
It's like,
sounds like your school and my school should get together and go bowling.
I didn't actually go to that school because I could not afford to go to that school.
Well, I couldn't afford to go to Penn either. So,
yeah, I thought it was interesting that they had such very specific classes.
What school is this? I'm curious.
Oh, it was Aquinas College.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
It's yeah, very. I'm from the same town where Aquinas College and Calvin College are in the same town. So there are a lot of religious schools up there.
Oh joy! I get the distinction of graduating from the same college as our president. Yay! He and Biden were at our graduation ceremony last year, and after Biden, stepped down for the new Neil McDonough evil version from Star Trek impersonator Mike Pence, he came to work at our school. So at least there's that to balance it out.
That's cool. I can't get over all of the Joe Biden memes now. They're so awesome. Cute. It's just so adorable. Like, can we just bring it back, please?
Yeah. Like the fact that Grandpa Joe is on our campus sort of revitalized everything after, because, going to the same school that Trump went to, we were the focus of everything. Like every single time he said something, which was often, people would be coming around. What did you think of what Donald Trump said about, coal miners in Kentucky? And we're like, why the fuck do we care? I have a test. So, after the election, we knew it was going to get worse, and it did. And that's when I published the first book that I've written under my new identity, or real identity, however you want to put it. And, when Joe came there was sort of an upbeat morale, but still in any class whatsoever, there's that conversation of, well, it's an interesting time. And we're all just like, oh shit, not again.
Yeah. So speaking of the book, take us through the process that brought you to writing that, and where can our audience find your book?
Sure. Well, first of all, my books are available under my name, Marissa Alexa McCool, and I just put out my first novel under my new identity.
Sweet.
It's my 7th book overall. The 5 previous were under my dead name, which you can find at rissmccool.com if you really want to. But there was kind of a 4 or 5 year gap in between publishing because I, wasn't writing as much because I wasn't myself. So coming to terms with who I was the big thing that got me writing again. And the PC lie, how American voters decided I don't matter, was my coming out piece, essentially, because I had come out a few weeks before by screaming in the face of a hate preacher, and I kicked the closet door down and have owned it. But when the election happened, I just started ranting during a class, typing away, and I already type 140 words a minute. So for me to be pounding the keyboard is a statement. And when I looked down, I had 30 pages. So I typed a letter to Andrew Torres, my lawyer, who some people might know, I guess. I said, can I turn this into a book? And he said, yeah, like you should. And it took me 9 days to write. The foreword is by former NFL player Chris Cluey, and Andrew and Eli Bosnick and a couple other people from the skeptic community contributed, as well as my husband. And it's gotten some tremendous reviews. I brought 50 copies with me to ReasonCon, and I sold all but like 3. So I guess people liked it. And then my newest novel, False Start, debuted at ReasonCon, and I sold a fair amount of copies of that too. That deals with being LGBT and the stigma of mental illness in a small town in the early 2000s, sort of contextualizing some of the experiences I had in a story that was disconnected from my experience. So I try to make it a variety as much as possible. And the next one I'm working on, I'm about 127 pages in, is called Voice in the Dark. And Dan Errol will be writing the foreword of that one. And I've already gotten commitments from Gleb Sapersky and No Illusions to contribute essays to that as well.
Wow. Nice. Very well-rounded body of work so far.
I hope so.
I very much look forward to reading some of that on my new Kindle, because I need to play with that and get some things on it. So hang on. There's some background noise going on.
Yeah, kids coming home from school.
Okay,
should be good.
All right. So the process to do a sort of, if I'm understanding correctly, an almost autobiographical novel, but setting it in not exactly the same world that you were in at the time. how did you come up with the scenario there?
Well, it's actually a really weird story. I was in a class called The Art and Business of Cinema with the person who ended up writing the foreword for that book, Kathy DeMarco Van Cleve. She's the author of The Cranberry Queen and Drizzle, among other things, and she owned a production company with John Leguizamo. So the whole point of Art and Business of Cinema was to sort of simulate the experience of making a movie from start to finish. 32 kids in the class, so they were divided into 8 groups of 4. And that group was to come up with the idea for a movie and pitch it to the class. And the top 4 would move on, and then the people who didn't get to move on became producers, and then they became agents, and then actors, and then we all got in together of 4 groups of 8, and we would film a scene from the movie itself. I mean, it was the most unique class I've ever taken. Even the midterm was written in the form of a screenplay. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you took the midterm, and it was the class and certain people in the class in it, and you would have to fill in the blank where certain words or terms or ideas were supposed to be. It was so neat. But the idea for False Start got started there. Our group of 4 came up with this idea of a football player who's dealing with mental illness and is best friends with a trans girl. And I wasn't out at the time, so I was sort of pitching it from that closeted perspective of I'd really want to see a story that I could relate to. Because, even with things like transparent and all that, we are not very well represented. And I've always wanted to include LGBT perspectives and characters, even if they're just side characters, because as much as cis males want to tell us that everything's so gay these days, it's really not. So that it's always been my goal to have that in every story that I write. And for some reason, our project didn't get picked, and I'm not sure why a couple of them did. But when you're a poor kid, 10 years older than everybody else, and you're dealing with a bunch of rich kids who go to Switzerland for fall break because they can, it's hard to relate to them. But when our project didn't get picked, everybody, the other 3 were just like, whatever. And I said, I'm going to write this anyway. Why not? I like the story.
Yeah.
So I got about 30 pages into it and just died. I couldn't get to the second act. And I don't know. I'm apparently not a very good screenwriter. I wrote some decent stories, but they were just never able to encapture the things I see in my head when I'm visualizing a story. And 2.5 years later, after I wrote the PC Lie, I was like, what am I going to write next now that I'm actually finding success? Because prior to that, pretty much every endeavor I tried either wasn't successful or didn't get a lot of attention. I was on YouTube for 4 years. I'd written books, but not a great deal of people bought them. So I was like, well, I got to take advantage of this before people forget about me again. And I went back to False Start. And I thought that might be a good idea for a novel instead of a screenplay, since the screenplays I've written haven't been very successful. And I got to the point where I'd been stuck at way back in 2014 and was never able to get further. And I just kept writing, and within a few weeks, I had an entire story. And my bestie, Lucinda Illusions, was reading it after I would write every chapter, and she's amazing and so supportive, and even contributed an essay herself. So, yeah, I ended up with this story, and she really liked it. It really spoke to her. More from the mental illness point of view than the LGBT one, but that's what I was trying to do, was create a story that people outside of the LGBT community could relate to. And since the main character is not LGBT, but one of the main characters is, that I think makes it a little more all-encompassing.
Yeah, definitely. And it certainly sounds intriguing. And I really want to get into that because it's so difficult, from what I understand, to get cisgendered people such as myself, to see the perspective of transgender people in a narrative. Right. And I think that's really important to, especially with all the anti-transgender, like the bathroom laws and things that are being thrown around right now, and with HB2 still being in effect in North Carolina. But that sounds like a really interesting novel, and I'll have to definitely check that out. So real quick, where can our listeners find you and your work online?
Sure. RissMcCool.com is probably the most all-encompassing one. RISMCCOOL. That has all my books and Inciting, Incident, and everything like that. Like I said, my podcasts are Inciting Incident, The Cis Are Getting Out of Hand, Doubting Dogma, and Full Frontal Nerdity. So, any of those on the various podcast apps, and they all have Patreons, and so does my writing, which I do for my blog. And if you like reading books before they come out as they develop, you can support me on my Patreon there as well, because all my patrons get to see books as they're sort of written. But I'm not hard to find, and I've been on pretty much every podcast imaginable. So, Riss McCool, Marissa Alexa McCool, pretty much any combination of that, you'll find a great variety of my work, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on PSF. It was, again, a pleasure to meet you at ReasonCon, and I hope that we get to meet up and hang out and maybe collaborate sometime, since we have finally met.
Yes, I'd love to do that sometime. I definitely travel all over the country right now doing things like that, and I like you, and I met Bella as well, so I would love to work with you in the future too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
When you wish upon a clot, makes no difference what you got. Anything your uterus wants to do will happen to you. Welcome to Mensesland, USA. Hi there, I'm Waltina Menses, and this is my little world. After many years of working in animation, developing such familiar characters as Eunice Uterus, Tippy Tampon, and Dastardly Douche, I decided to create a new concept of menstruation entertainment, a menstruation-themed amusement park. What could be more fun than celebrating the periodic discharge of blood and mucus tissue from the uterus in a way that's exciting for the whole family? This was a far-out dream of mine only a few years ago, but today literally dozens of people come here every day from every state that borders New Jersey, except for Pennsylvania and Delaware, and from almost every nation around the world that begins with the letter Q. Stay at one of our nearby hotels and arrive via the PMS Express, which conveniently runs a week out of every month. Mensesland is separated into 4 different and exciting lands. Crampland is a land devoted to the wonders of period pains. Ride the Abominable Abdominator, a roller coaster that really beats the shit out of you. View the House of Pain, an interactive history of women suffering from cramps and the horrible curatives that were attempted throughout the ages. Enjoy the random blows to your kidneys from our lovable boxing glove mascots, Punchy and Fisty. There is also Bloodland. What would menstruation be without literal gallons of blood spewing from your nether regions for days at a time? No kind of period I want to experience, that's for sure. Ride the dizzying menstrual cups, the tampon river flume, and of course one of our most popular rides, Red Splash Mountain. Take a relaxing boat ride into the romantic Tunnel of Blood, or earn your red wings flying the Unfriendly Skies Red Baroness adventure. This weekend, meet the stars of The Monthly Visitor Part 2, The Bloody Boogaloo. Bloatland makes me swell with pride. You won't feel quite right or quite fit into those jeans in the terrific park Bloatland. Food is served all over Mensesland, but in Bloatland you'll never know if you're hungry or not. All of our rides are just a little on the small side, creating an exciting sense of claustrophobia and discomfort. Hitch a ride on the gas main, the smelliest ride in the park. Sing along to the Roly-Poly Players All-Tuba Band. Squeeze into the Sumo Wrestler Fatsuit Interactive Extravaganza to really experience the full bloated joy of Bloatland. Last but certainly not least, we have Grouchland, which will push you to your ever-loving limits. Ride the longest and most horrifying ride in our park, the Emotional Roller Coaster, designed by our team of nightmare engineers to mimic all of the dizzying highs and crushing lows of that very special time of the month. Each ride in Grouchland is designed to be subtly infuriating, with extra long lines that never move as quick as you like, and of course with headache-inducing flicking lights. There are far too few bathrooms and almost never enough toilet paper. Even the food will taste just slightly off, and it will be under or over-seasoned perfectly for nobody's tastes. Yes, we have thought of everything. Don't forget to visit Princess Menstruella's castle while you're here. Stay for the Asshole Parade and delight to the Menstruteers Singers Theater. We have everything for you here at Mensesland, and if we don't, then that's tough shit. I don't exist to fulfill all of your goddamn fantasies, you lazy good-for-nothing son of a... No. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. Would you be a dear and get me some chocolate, pasta, wine, and a copy of Love Actually at the store? Thank you, dear. I love you so much. So very, very much. Don't ever leave me. Also, I hate your mother. No, I didn't mean that. Sorry. No, I really did. Fuck her and her passive-aggressive commentary on my wardrobe. They're called yoga pants and they're comfortable, damn it. Thanks for listening to PSF, Promoting Secular Feminism. If you'd like to contact us, our email is promotingsecularfeminism@gmail.com. You can find other episodes at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, as well as on our website, which is promotingsecularfeminism.com. And if you'd like, you can also plug our RSS feed into your favorite podcasting app to listen on the go. If you'd like to support PSF and you like what we do, you can become a patron at patreon.com/promotingsecularfeminism. Thanks so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you listening in every time we have an episode, and I just wanted to say that I've been trying to reach out to some friends and spread positivity lately. So if you need some positive words in your life or just need to reach out to somebody, feel free to do so by reaching out to me at the PSF Facebook or Twitter or by emailing us. I hope you have a great May and happy Memorial Day.